Introducing a completely redesigned experience that you can sense. And that senses you. The new Dell Latitude laptops bring your work closer to you.
Tonight, a Calcalo father details the horrifying moment armed intruders stormed his home, attacking his family and stealing valuables. The race to stop an out-of-control bushfire out west. Authorities warning Wednesday could be the most dangerous day in years. The state government rubbishes reports pill testing could replace a second injecting room in the city. The Prime Minister gets down to business as the Dunkley by-election race heats up. The victory that's put Donald Trump even closer to a White House return, and an unlikely hero helps the Matildas all but guarantee their spot in Paris.
This is Melbourne's 9 News with Peter Hitchener.
Good evening. A Calcalo man has told of the terrifying moment his family was ambushed in their own home by thieves armed with machetes and a gun. The offenders left their victims bloodied and bruised and stole tens of thousands of dollars worth of valuables. Reid Butler has this exclusive report.
The intruders arrive, masked, creeping towards the door. They're wielding machetes and know they're being filmed, but don't care. Once they're inside the Calcalo home, the terror begins.
They broke in with the pot. As you can see, they used whatever they could from outside. Why did I have to experience this in my life?
Gurinder Singh, his mother, wife and 2 young children feared for their lives as the 3 offenders, one armed with a gun, ransacked the property.
They dragged my mum out of the stairway and thrown her on the ground, and they broke her head. So she got a lot of blood coming out of it.
The elderly woman is now recovering at home with her injuries after being treated in hospital. Gurinder was also attacked, slashed multiple times with a machete.
My actions could have caused a lot of things to my family, and that could stay for the rest of their life. I didn't do anything, I just stayed calm.
The thugs took off with $30,000 worth of valuables, including jewellery and $10,000 in cash, which the parents had been saving for their son's 16th birthday.
I had to give him whatever he demanded, and that's about it.
After a 10-minute rampage, the offenders fled. They were driven away by a 4th person in a getaway car.
Get a real life. Get a real life, real job.
To say the Singh family is shaken would be an understatement. They're already planning on selling up and moving from Calcalo.
We all working class families and don't feel safe. We don't want to be here.
Reid Butler, 9 News.
Firefighters are racing against time to stop an out-of-control bushfire burning northwest of Ballarat. As we go to air, a shelter now warning is in place for Mount Lonark, with conditions tipped to worsen by Wednesday. Gillian Lantouris has the latest.
Red hot and still burning out of control. For residents from Raglan to Mount Cole, northwest of Ballarat, it's still not safe to return home.
It's stressful, it's upsetting.
6 houses and dozens of sheds have been wiped out since the fire started on Thursday. Leon Allen watching the destruction from his amphitheatre home.
One that definitely went up was just the black smoke, so unfortunately. I think it's a holiday house.
As the fire spreads north, crews on the ground and in the air tackle the fierce flames. Roads blocked off as trees threaten to fall. The mammoth effort is being managed by a team of experts at the Ballarat Control Centre.
We've currently got a lot of ground crews working to control the fire. We've got a lot of heavy plants, so bulldozers and excavators.
They're hoping to contain the 17,500 hectare blaze before Wednesday, when temperatures are expected to soar to 40 degrees.
We're expecting not only high temperatures, but also wind is expected.
This afternoon, hundreds filed into a community meeting in nearby Beaufort for an update on the impending threat.
We're also going to be doing some burning out operations in advance of Tuesday to bring the fire edge to those containment lines.
As the firefighting effort continues, assessments are underway to determine exactly how many homes have been impacted. As for the amount of livestock lost, it's still too early to tell.
And it may be until well after this coming Wednesday.
We really want our communities to be aware and remain vigilant on that day and obviously make their plans in the lead up to that day.
In Amphitheatre, Gillian Lantouris, 9 News.
A pedestrian has died after being hit by a car in Caulfield North. The woman, who's yet to be formally identified, was struck while crossing Balaclava Road around midday. The driver, a 24-year-old, stopped and has been interviewed by police. The state government has shot down reports it's considering pill testing trials at medical clinics to replace a second safe injecting room in the city. Advocates say both are desperately needed to stop the rise in overdoses. Eliza Rugg reports.
John Corver's son Daniel died of a heroin overdose in the city, where there's still no safe injecting room.
If there had been a room there, he would have gone there, no problems.
For others, pill testing at medical clinics could soon be made available.
The principles that we would like to see the drug checking service is that it's flexible and adaptable. It doesn't have to be bright lights and flashing signs.
But the trial may not take place at music festivals, the site of recent mass overdoses.
Having drug checking available where it's most likely to be used is number one.
Experts say pill testing can't replace a safe injecting room.
The idea that we would be trading one set of people's lives for another is somewhat concerning to me.
We're always open to receiving further advice. There is no current plans for pill testing.
The state government has been ordered by Parliament to release the long-awaited Ken Lay report into a second safe injecting room by March 6. But today, more hints that deadline may be ignored.
What's important is that we release that report with a comprehensive government response.
4 years later, $50 million later, and we still are no wiser on what the government wants to do.
With debate over where would be a suitable location exacerbating the delay.
Since the government was presented with the Lay report, there have been 22 people that have overdosed in the CBD.
I'm hopeful that something will come up, but we can only keep trying.
Eliza Rugg, 9 News.
Nearly a week since Jessie Baird and Luke Davies disappeared, the New South Wales Police Commissioner has broken her silence to call for patience. As Sophie Upcroft explains, detectives returned to the television presenter's home today, gathering new evidence in the case.
Smiling with his cousins. A short video, now a treasured memory for Austin Baird, remembering his cousin Jessie as one in a million. You cared about everyone and left such an impact on every person you met. Gone but never forgotten, a vow from his cousin Luke. Words and flowers being left at the Paddington home where Jessie and his boyfriend Luke Davies were allegedly murdered.
The least I can do is come and give some flowers to two beautiful boys.
Inside, detectives seized bags of evidence, desperately looking for fresh clues as to what happened, allegedly at the hands of Beau Lamar Condon. The focus, the 5-day window of Lamar Condon's alleged movements, spanning a stretch of at least 200 kilometres. On Sunday night, Jessie and Luke were last seen by friends at the Beresford Hotel in Surrey Hills. 3 days later, police found blood-stained clothes in a skip bin at Club Cronulla. Those belongings leading detectives to Jessie's home, where they say they discovered large amounts of blood and a bullet casing allegedly from the constable's service weapon. On Thursday, police admitted they were searching for one of their own. It's alleged he had hired a white Hi-Ace van on Monday, which he drove to Newcastle before heading south to Grays Point on Friday morning. From there, the 28-year-old travelled to Bondi Police Station, charged that afternoon with double murder. Behind bars, but officers say he's not giving anything away, prompting a call from the top. The state's police commissioner today releasing a statement asking for anyone who has any information that could help to come forward, offering assurances that the force is working around the clock for answers, but warns that could take time.
I just hope that the boys can be brought home for their families to be laid to rest peacefully and respectfully.
In Paddington, Sophie Upcroft, 9 News.
A woman is under police guard in hospital and another driver is on the run following a crash in the city. Police say the stolen cars involved were speeding along tram tracks on Elizabeth Street before they collided on La Trobe Street. Drugs and weapons, including a samurai sword, were found inside the vehicles. The Prime Minister has dropped by the Frankston foreshore as the Dunkley by-election campaign heats up. Emily Rice spoke to residents there about the key issues affecting the way they'll vote.
The Prime Minister has had a busy weekend, attending the Taylor Swift concert in Sydney on Friday night, a Greek festival on Lonsdale Street yesterday afternoon. Mr Albanese then went to the private Katy Perry party at the Pratt's Kew Mansion, and this morning he was in Frankston supporting Labor candidate Jodie Bellier ahead of next weekend's Dunkley by-election.
In Jodie, we believe we have a great candidate who's standing up on cost of living issues.
The Dunkley electorate covers a huge swathe down south, including Frankston and Mount Eliza. The by-election was triggered by the death last year of Labor MP Peter Murphy. Labor holds the seat by a 6.3% margin.
I am not a career politician. What I am is a woman that has a strong commitment to people and the community.
The Liberal candidate, Nathan Conroy, grew up in social housing in Ireland and is also campaigning on hip pocket issues.
And over the last 2 years, it's got worse. 12 interest rate rises. My mortgage has gone up like everybody else's, about $2,000.
So what will drive the vote in Frankston?
I think cost of living. I've got a son living at home with me at the moment, with his daughter and partner, and they're trying to get out into the market, and it's just crucifying young kids. It's terrible.
Homelessness and just drug abuse and domestic violence on top of that as well.
I did vote for Labor last time, but I'm not 100% sure this time.
Both Labor and the Coalition will be sweating on the outcome of Saturday's by-election because it's a demonstration of which party's hot or not here in Victoria and more broadly across Middle Australia. Emily Rice, 9 News.
Dozens of pro-Palestine activists gatecrashed the private party at the Pratt Mansion last night, where Katy Perry was performing. The Premier also attended the soiree, a celebration of Australia's food and beverage manufacturing industries. The party extended beyond the grounds of Raheen, with Perry fans gathering outside the gates to enjoy the show. New details tonight of what could be the largest overhaul of higher education in a generation. The Universities Accord final report recommending more places for low and middle income students. Political editor Charles Croucher.
On Smart Street, hoping to make the streets a little smarter.
Universities change lives if they're managed well, and universities can change nations.
Among the recommendations, 80% of Australians receive university or higher level technical qualifications by 2050, with more than 1 million extra Commonwealth supported places targeting areas of national skill shortages while making help payments easier to get and pay off.
I've made it pretty clear that my priority is helping more kids from the outer suburbs and the regions, more kids from poor families get a crack at university.
The review also wants more free bridging courses for students that don't initially qualify for uni and introducing payments for previously unpaid work placement training in nursing, care and teaching.
So that they can fill those jobs, drive that economy, as well as provide a good quality of life for themselves and their families.
But this would cost many billions of dollars to deliver, and we are certainly concerned that the government has really raised expectations.
Business and science groups have welcomed the report, while universities support it but are wary of costs, with suggestions tonight wealthy unis should help poorer ones.
I believe this is the most important contribution to tertiary education for decades.
This doesn't come for free, so that'll be a challenge for government in terms of how it closes the circle.
This is one of 3 reviews into Australia's education sector. The government believing longer-term reform can lead to a longer time in power.
The agreement I strike this year and the election that we fight next year will determine the future of public education.
The report tonight with the government, the first changes will be included in the budget in May. Charles Croucher, 9 News.
And let's bring in Charles in Canberra. Charles, despite victories in the Parliament, there's trouble in the polls tonight for the government.
Evening, Peter. Yes, an exclusive poll just released by Resolve Political Monitor for our colleagues at the Sydney Morning Herald and The Age shows a continued decline of the government's standings. The coalition now leads Labor on primary votes 37 to 34. This is the first time since the last election that the opposition has led the primary vote in this poll. Anthony Albanese still leads as preferred Prime Minister, the margin there 39 to 32, but that lead is just a quarter of the lead the PM held in May last year. Peter, this is all important because we know this time next week we'll be analysing the result of that crucial by-election in Dunkley.
OK, thank you, Charles. Donald Trump appears to be staging one of the biggest political comebacks in American history. A commanding victory in the latest Republican primary, delivering a crushing blow to rival Nikki Haley. Here's Alison Petrowski.
A ringing endorsement on his rival's home turf.
This was a little sooner than we anticipated.
The race was called for Donald Trump the second the polls closed.
The Fox News decision desk can now project that former President Donald Trump will win the state's GOP primary.
Trump has now swept all of the early voting states and appears to be executing the biggest political comeback in Republican history.
I have never seen the Republican Party so unified as it is right now.
He is a mere heartbeat away from securing his party's nomination.
Joe, you're fired. Get out. Get out, Joe. You're fired.
A crushing defeat, Nikki Haley's campaign all but dead in the water.
I said earlier this week that no matter what happens in South Carolina, I would continue to run for president. I'm a woman of my word.
But she's vowing to still show up tomorrow and every day until Super Tuesday.
We need to beat Joe Biden in November. I don't believe Donald Trump can beat Joe Biden.
I think she'll keep fighting. I don't think she'll quit. And I hope she prevails.
A large turnout for a primary, a 90-minute queue to vote in some precincts. Many said they were undeterred by Trump's 91 criminal charges.
Absolutely, Donald Trump. If we don't get him in, we're doomed as a country.
We had no problems with, in the country when he was president, and we need him again.
The South Carolina primary is a strong indicator of who will become the Republican candidate. Since 1980, every winner here but one has gone on to take the party's nomination.
And at this point, the question is not if Nikki Haley will drop out, but when. In Columbia, South Carolina, Alison Petrowski, 9 News.
Clint Stanaway's here now with a look ahead to sport.
Very good evening to you, Pete. Thanks for that. Tonight, the Tigers are oozing confidence ahead of the new season. After coming up short last season, they've got a point to prove.
Definitely does feel you. It was a little bit odd, to be honest, and it's not a great feeling.
How about this? Just ace. Thompson finally gets his hands on a trophy. The Kiwis go to water on a dominant day for the Australians. Our Matildas, they've got one hand now on a ticket to Paris, and why this fireworks display didn't go down very well at all with some Aussie sports stars. Plus, there's been a big scare for the #1 AFL draft pick. That's all coming up soon in sport for you tonight, Pete.
OK, great. Thank you, Clint. When Melbourne's 9 News returns, distracted drivers nabbed in a police road safety blitz in the southeast. The delicate rescue mission to save an unconscious scuba diver. Plus, the Pope dealing with another health scare, the latest from the Vatican.
Jones' NBN nightmare.
So frustrating.
The installation failed that left this pensioner disconnected.
Because it's dead.
And it could cost $6,000 to fix.
Oh, no.
It's just pure laziness.
9 News, your news, tomorrow.
Men dressed in suits have ransacked multiple homes in Melbourne's east, stealing tens of thousands of dollars in cash and jewellery. A Vermont South family returned from their daughter's birthday party to find they'd been robbed yesterday afternoon. The same thieves were captured on CCTV in Wantirna South hours later, before they struck again.
All the clothes they pulled down, all the drawers were out, clothes in the drawers was all on the floor. This area is being targeted at present. We never had this problem.
Police are now investigating. From P-platers running late for work to truckies without a seatbelt, close to 200 motorists have been busted during a police operation in the southeast, and Neri Tai was invited along.
It's one thing drivers can't seem to keep their hands off, and that's their mobile phone. Operation Spotto had undercover police targeting motorists in Springvale.
White Unison Navara, he's wearing high vis.
This tradie was on his way to work.
So obviously our undercover guys up there observe you there on your phone, tapping away.
Fidel Kashaba confessed to using his mobile phone while stopped at the traffic lights on Springvale Road.
Literally on my maps. Yeah, working, so I got to know where I'm going to my next site, but yeah, happens.
The 26-year-old was fined $577, losing 4 demerit points.
What the government are doing, they're just trying to take advantage. Like, if they be like, oh yeah, they could just charge us $300 for a fine. But they know if they want to charge $600, they'll get it.
This young woman was also stung on her way to a new job.
Oh, yes, I was.
You tell them why you're on your phone?
Yeah, because I was seeing how to get to work, so I took the wrong turn.
People stuck in the car at traffic lights and they can't help but go for their phone. We always get the, I've got to call the boss, I'm running late. But a lot of the times they're just sitting there scrolling through Insta.
It wasn't just driver distraction. Truckies were also busted without a seatbelt.
What happened?
I just forgot to put the seatbelt on, daydreaming.
Jihad says he was heading to the tip.
It is what it is.
How long were you driving without a seatbelt?
But just now.
The 53-year-old was fined $385 and copped 3 demerit points.
Do you normally drive without a seatbelt?
No. Hell no.
187 drivers were fined during the 2-day blitz. 68 drivers were caught using their mobile phones, 19 weren't wearing a seatbelt, and 15 were speeding. Last year, Victoria recorded its highest road toll in more than 15 years, with 295 people killed.
To people that say it's revenue raising, I say it's all voluntary. They're all voluntary contributions. They're part of the Fatal 5, being distractions, impairments, fatigue, speed and seatbelts, so there's just zero tolerance for us.
Niri Tai, 9 News.
A complex rescue mission off Sydney today with a distressed scuba diver winched from the water onto a rescue helicopter. Matt Connellan reports.
It was a rescue as daring as it was dangerous. Plucked from a dive boat high into the sky a kilometre from the Collaroy shore. A woman in her early 30s winched to safety after finding herself in trouble on a Sunday morning scuba dive.
The decision was made to winch off the boat as there was other divers in the water.
Emergency services were called around 9:30, the rescue chopper quickly swinging into action. Within half an hour it was overhead, and just an hour after the initial call, the first phase of the complex rescue had been carried out after initial treatment on board the boat. But the job was far from over. The woman was flown to the headland at Long Reef, stabilised and taken on to Randwick's Prince of Wales Hospital, where the specialised hyperbaric team was standing by. It's believed the woman may have suffered a medical episode at a depth of about 10 metres, resurfacing so fast there were health concerns too about the sudden change in pressure.
When she surfaced, she was semi-conscious, but she was breathing on her own, and she was a bit agitated. So that's why she had to be stabilised before she could be flown.
The boat, operated by ProDive, had left Manly Wharf Club this morning. On its return this afternoon, workers were seen unloading tanks in preparation for their next dive. The woman, who is expected to make a full recovery, is tonight on the mend in hospital. In Collaroy, Matt Connellan, 9 News.
A resident has clung to a firefighter who was lowered down to rescue them from a burning building in New York. Several people hung out of windows, desperate to be saved, when fire took hold of an apartment block in Harlem. 1 person died and 17 others were injured. Pope Francis has cancelled his engagements overnight due to a flu-like condition. A statement from the Vatican says it was done as a precautionary measure, but the 87-year-old has had several health problems in recent years. In November, he cancelled an international trip due to breathing difficulties. Madeline Sparks along now with all the latest on the weather. It's been a lot warmer today, Maddie.
That's right, it really has been, Pete. The city took an 11-degree jump from yesterday. After a rather chilly overnight low of 12, it peaked at 31 this afternoon. And it was an even colder night around the suburbs. Coldstream fell to 6 degrees, Rosebud and Viewbank down to 7, Avalon 8, Tullamarine and Werribee 9, and Geelong also dipped to 9 degrees. So a long way from the hot night last week where it stayed in the 20s. We are in for a warmer night tonight, but a much cooler day as a cold front moves moves through, then daytime temperatures will build again on Tuesday ahead of a hot and very dangerous bushfire day on Wednesday. I'll have all those details and the full 7-day forecast later in the bulletin, Pete.
OK, thank you, Maddie. Still to come in this hour, bulk billing on the brink. The new data revealing just how difficult it is to find cheaper healthcare across Melbourne. 15 people killed in an inferno in China, what police believe sparked the blaze. And bullets fly in the English countryside. The Aussies training Ukrainians in urban warfare. Finding a doctor who bulk bills is getting harder across Victoria, with more patients forced to pay out-of-pocket costs. There are 107 fewer bulk billing clinics in the state now compared to a year ago, and that's according to online GP directory Clean Bill. Inner Melbourne has the least, with less than 10% of clinics in the electorates of Macnamara, Goldstein, Higgins and Kooyong offering no-gap consultations. The Australian Defence Force is training Ukrainian soldiers for battle against Russian troops as the war passes the 2-year mark. As Edward Godfrey explains, our troops are heading up a special leadership program in the UK.
Gunfire from the roofs and the windows. Mortar blasts booming. Smoke grenades shielding troops trying to advance and seize control of each building. Urban warfare in the English countryside. There's no live ammunition, but it's no game. These battle-hardened Ukrainian soldiers are undergoing specialised training.
It was hard psychologically, mentally, because you're far from your family for extended period of time. My family had to escape from the territory where the war was going on.
Many have already fought against Russia's forces. This weekend marks 2 years since Ukraine was invaded. World leaders travelling to Kyiv as a show of support. Something Ukraine is asking for more of from the West. A minute of silence in memory of our fallen heroes, President Volodymyr Zelensky says. Ihor has seen many fall while fighting in Kharkiv, Bakhmut and Donetsk.
I've been serving in the brigade that was on the front line when the war started, so yeah, we've been prepared. We are military personnel.
Playing the enemy here is a mix of Defence Force personnel from 12 nations, including Australia, which is running this leadership-focused program.
The idea with the scenarios is to replicate as much of the combat situation in Ukraine as possible. We have weapon effects such as that sound right there behind me to indicate artillery and indirect fire.
35,000 Ukrainians have completed this training since 2022.
And that covers everything from the field environment, in rural areas, in, as you see, an urban facility behind me, in trench warfare, in small arms instruction, so with their weapon systems.
This is the final phase of training for this particular group of soldiers. In the coming days, they'll be heading back to Ukraine, where they'll apply what they're learning here in real-world scenarios.
So we're definitely moving toward victory.
It's very humbling and privileged kind of feeling to be having this key role as part of the mission.
A war with no end in sight. In eastern England, Edward Godfrey, 9 News.
15 people have been killed and more than 40 others injured when fire ripped through a 34-storey apartment block in eastern China. It's believed the blaze started on the first floor where many electric bikes were parked. Aussie actor Elizabeth Debicki has won Best Female Actor in a Drama Series at the Screen Actor Guild Awards. The award was for her role as Princess Diana in The Crown, much to her obvious surprise. The 33-year-old accepted the accolade barefoot.
I didn't do the kind of check what you should do if you think you have to get up. So I did, so my shoes weren't really on my feet, so then I had to kick them off.
Debicki beat fellow Aussie Sarah Snook to take out the category. Margot Robbie missed out for her film Barbie, with Oppenheimer winning all 3 of the nominated categories. Ahead in 9 News, court documents reveal the AFL's response to a concussion class action led by a Cats premiership winner. Why US Ambassador Caroline Kennedy spent the day at Bunnings. Plus, the Melbourne mums removing the fear and isolation from early parenthood. The AFL has detailed its response to a class action lawsuit over head knocks being led by former Geelong player Max Rook. According to the Herald Sun, Supreme Court documents reveal the league will argue clubs and players themselves are primarily responsible for their health and welfare. Dozens of retired stars have joined the dual premiership winners campaign for compensation. The discovery of a shipwreck off Australia's east coast has sparked a worldwide search for descendants of the crew who died on board. As Helene Lambetsos reports, the SS Nemesis vanished in 1904 and authorities want to provide families with answers.
The deep-sea mystery that stumped scientists for over a century. Now, a lucky breakthrough. A 73-metre vessel found off Port Kembla on the New South Wales south coast, identified as the SS Nemesis, a coal ship with a sombre history. It was July 8, 1904 when the vessel, under the control of Captain Lusher, left Newcastle. It was bound for Melbourne when it ran into the eye of a fierce storm. The lives of the 32 people on board lost.
It was a terrible time when this shipwreck occurred. Bodies were being washed up on the beaches and we've never found out what happened to them.
But 120 years later, finally, answers. A remote sensing company which had been looking for lost cargo, stumbling upon something even more important, 26 kilometres offshore. The Nemesis shipwreck 160 metres underwater, with signs it had been struck by a huge wave that overwhelmed the engine, sinking so fast there was no time to deploy lifeboats.
And they came across something that they weren't sure what it was. They sent the pictures in to Heritage New South Wales, and then with work between them and a great collaboration with the CSIRO, we can now say that we have found the SS Nemesis.
Now comes a new challenge, bringing closure to the descendants of those lost.
We don't know where all of the families are, and so for me, today's really a call out to say, please get in contact with either my office or Heritage New South Wales. We want to know you. We want to be able to tell the stories of what happened to your loved ones.
Helene Lambetsos, 9 News.
2 Melbourne mums have opened a facility designed to remove the fear and isolation from early parenthood. The first of its kind space takes over where council-run maternal programs finish and aims to unite mothers going through the same life stage. Jo Hall with more.
First-time mum Emily Angove.
It's definitely a full-time job that I probably underestimated before.
And 3.5-month-old son William.
Even just getting out of the house once a day is an achievement, and it's nice to come here and just have a space where there's like-minded mums.
That isolation that I felt with my first really kind of rocked me, and the connections with fellow parents and mums is just so important, so really excited for that.
Chelsea McRae is a second-time mum to a 2.5-year-old and now baby Cora. She's just finished a masterclass at From Day One, a purpose-built space for mothers and their babies.
Such important topics on postnatal anxiety and depression and sleep and all of those kind of things, and having all the experts in one place that you can come and see.
There are sleep consultants, psychologists, nutritionists, counsellors, even stylists to help with identity issues and building confidence.
It's not just educational, it's also bringing fun into that postpartum period.
Co-founders of From Day One and themselves mothers to 3 each, Kesha Hutchins and Ariel Bryant, have self-funded the business, which is a result of 2 years of studies with focus groups to determine a need in the community.
We interviewed women about their postpartum experience and found that we actually weren't alone.
There were so many women who felt the same way and were really craving that community.
Social connection is one of the real pillars of mental health, so being able to maintain that in a reasonable way with all the logistical challenges can be difficult for people.
The sessions and space are open to first, second, even third-time mums, like Eleni Matakis, who has been blessed with 2-year-old twins and now Hazel.
Just hearing other people's stories and knowing that, you're not alone in some of the concerns and the worries that you have.
The cost, the women say they aim to keep it to what you might pay for a weekly brunch catch-up with a friend. Memberships are $25 per week. Non-members can pay $25 to $35 for a masterclass, and group appointments with specialists start at $39.
As for dads, well, they are included. Welcome at parent sessions, and there are plans for a fathers-only group. But the focus here is very much on mums and their well-being.
You're not raising your children the same way that your family raised their children. So yes, we want to create a village, but we want to create it in a modern sense.
Being able to feel that there's someone else going through this, it's less lonely, it's less scary.
Jo Hall, 9 News.
It's not every day you're served a Bunnings sausage by a top diplomat. American Ambassador to Australia, Caroline Kennedy, was working the tongs at a store in Canberra today. She was helping raise funds for cancer research ahead of an annual car rally in April. Now for a look ahead to sport, here's Clint Stanaway.
Hello again, Pete. Thank you for that. Richmond's plan to throw everything at Collingwood. That's coming up. Also, a new test awaits Australia's cricketers after sweeping the Kiwis. Geordie's big payday, and there's another little sweetener on the way too. And next stop, Melbourne, as the Matildas edge closer to Paris.
Incredibly fun, remarkably functional, and effortlessly stylish. Introducing the all-new Ford Puma. A compact SUV that really packs a punch. Looking good has never been this easy. Secure yours today. The all-new Ford Puma. Effortlessly stylish.
Richmond star Jayden Short says new coach Adam Uze has harnessed the Tigers' pain of missing finals to reinvigorate them. A host of big names will play their first game of the year on Tuesday as a date with a new enemy closes in. Joshua Dorr explains.
It certainly didn't feel like it at the time, but this adversity is now providing a decorated group with newfound desire.
Yeah, it definitely does feel you. It was a little bit odd, to be honest, and it's not a great feeling. I mean, even just losing as many games as we did, it's sort of not as fun as it could be, and it certainly does motivate us to get back there.
After being managed last week, Tigers skipper Toby Nankervis and Dustin Martin are among the stars expected to be at Adam Uze's disposal against Collingwood on Tuesday.
We've had Uze come in and really invigorate us, so the boys are keen for another opportunity to hopefully get ourselves back there, but there's still a lot of work to do, and we're just looking forward to obviously this week to test ourselves.
It's a crucial audition with 13 days left until an opening round reunion with Damien Hardwick in the Gold Coast sun.
It won't be too good for his skin, to be honest, so he might want to come back to Melbourne soon, but it'll be pretty different seeing him, but he's an enemy now, so it'll be good.
Eagles' hearts were in mouths during Harley Reid's first game.
Holding the inside of his right knee. I don't think that's very good at all.
Thankfully, it was just a nasty cramp for the number 1 draft pick, who ended the night with 8 disposals.
I like the fact that he's trying to take the game on, and that's what we want to see from him. Would have been some really good learnings from Harley, and he'll take some good learnings away from to put into his games going forward.
Joshua Dorr, 9 News.
Spirits are high at Hawthorn, with players giving coach Sam Mitchell a raucous reception when it was revealed he was being inducted into the club's Hall of Fame. Luke Hodge and Alan Martello have also been inducted, with Alan Jeans elevated to legend status. Cricket, and another satisfying T20 victory for Australia, who've completed a series clean sweep of New Zealand. In a match impacted by heavy rain, the Kiwis never really mounted a challenge as the visitors won by 27 runs under the Duckworth-Lewis system. Xander Maguire has the highlights.
Back at the top of the order with the series already won, today was a golden chance for Steve Smith. But that extra pace on the new ball, once again his downfall.
Oh yes, it's a little edge.
Victorian Matt Short took his place, benefiting from Eden Park's famously short boundaries, the venue leaving the Kiwis with little room to squander chances.
That's gone down.
Head dropped again, only moments later.
Unbelievable.
Third time lucky for New Zealand saw Short depart, but it wasn't a sign of things to come.
I think that's been dropped too.
Rain fell and play paused for 20 minutes before the big show picked up the pace, only to be dismissed on 20 as conditions deteriorated again. An hour later, they returned, only for Travis Head to join his teammates in the stand permanently.
Should be out. Is out taken.
A fast start for the Aussies was worth its weight in gold. As the heavens opened up for a third time, the T20 became a 10-10. And despite early intent from the Black Caps to chase 126, it was the Aussies who were finding a way.
Is it going to be safe? No, it's not. It's taken.
As a typically tight Adam Zampa proved a thorn in their side.
Who's calling for it? Stark wants it and Stark takes it.
With 43 required off the last over, the 3-0 sweep was secured. A 2-test series, now the next hurdle for Australia to clear.
It's a bit of a strange game with the rain, off and on, so we knew, the aggressive way is the way we want to play, especially T20.
Xander Maguire, 9 News.
Our Matildas have all but locked in their spot at the Paris Games with a 3-0 win over Uzbekistan. It took just over an hour for the Tillies to get onto the score sheet, and as Trent Neese reports, their first goal came from an unlikely source.
Michelle Heyman used to be one of the first names picked on the Matildas team sheet. Last night was her first game back in more than 6 years.
And Heyman, it's in! Michelle Heyman's done it!
The 35-year-old breaking the deadlock more than an hour into the Aussies' Olympic qualifier against Uzbekistan.
Scoring is something that I love to do, and to be able to come back and get one in was, a dream come true.
Mary Fowler and Caitlin Ford also added their names on the score sheet.
Ford is there, and that's 3.
The Matildas now preparing for a flight home to Melbourne for the return bout with Uzbekistan on Wednesday night. A win or a draw, enough to get our girls to Paris.
I think the second game now is about us going out and playing our football and enjoying ourselves in front of our home crowd, and hopefully put on a good show for them.
They're now 8 points outside the top 4. There was more joy for their crosstown rivals, City, beating Bournemouth 1-0, while Arsenal moved 2 points behind league leaders, Liverpool, with a 4-1 thrashing of Newcastle. Trent Neese, 9 News.
Well, it's certainly been a life-changing night in Mexico for Australian Jordan Thompson. Less than 24 hours after beating Alexander Zverev, the informed player toppled Casper Ruud to clinch his first title.
It is joy for Jordan Thompson in Los Cabos.
The 29-year-old also takes home $1.3 million and moves to a career-high world ranking of 32. Finally, in sport, we know British fans love getting under the skin of visiting Australians, and pranksters in Manchester did just that in the early hours of this morning, setting off fireworks outside the Penrith Team Hotel ahead of their World Club Challenge final with Wigan. How's that for a good morning? It could have proven the difference too, with the home side edging the NRL Premiers 16 points to 12. That's Sunday Night Sport.
OK, thank you, Clint. Now it's time for another check on the weather with Maddie, and it's going to be much cooler tomorrow, Maddie.
That's right, Pete. The temperature is really on a roller coaster at the moment. Up today, down tomorrow, and then up again on Tuesday. I'll have the full forecast for you next.
Switch on a Daikin Alira X split system with advanced streamer technology to remove more than 99% of harmful indoor air pollutants and surround yourself with cleaner air this summer. Daikin, perfecting the air.
Hello again. The city warmed up to 31 this afternoon, but a southerly change has gone through, dropping it back to 24. And there's been smoke haze in northwestern suburbs, but those southerly breezes will clear that out tonight. It was an unusually cold morning, down to 6 at Yarra Glen and down to 7 at Rosebud. Most of the state dipped to single figures this morning, but daytime temperatures bounced back into the low to mid-30s through the north, mostly the high 20s through the south. The satellite picture shows a broad band of cloud that's about to move in ahead of a cold front that will cross over Bass Strait tonight, pushing in the cloud, and it could produce a few light showers through southern districts. Winds will shift back to warmer northerlies and temperatures will start to build, and then Wednesday is set to be the hottest day of the week with dangerous bushfire conditions, and there is a concern that storms will produce destructive winds in Melbourne's outer east and also through West and South Gippsland. The latest fire danger ratings have been upgraded to extreme for all western and central districts. And around the country tomorrow, a top of 32 for Brisbane. Sydney is heading for 28 with a late shower, and Perth has had a couple of days in the low to mid-20s, but it is heading back into the 30s, 32 tomorrow. Back home, it'll be cloudy through the south with some drizzle likely during the morning, and a much cooler day, only heading for the low 20s. Once again, there'll be areas of smoke haze through the northwest, but dry and sunny elsewhere through the north, with most spots heading for the low 30s and up to 35 in Wodonga. Melbourne is in for a warmer night with most suburbs heading down to 14 or 15, 17 at Moorabbin. Drizzly showers are most likely from 6 a.m. until 10 a.m. and then a partly cloudy afternoon, around 10 degrees cooler than today, just the low 20s. For Geelong, a cloudy top of 21 degrees. The city is only expected to dip to 17 and it's also heading for 21. And then the temperature will rise again on Tuesday, 31 degrees, 36 on Wednesday, and this is the dangerous day with gusty winds and a cool change in the late evening. back to 24 on Thursday, 23 on Friday and 21 on Saturday, and then 20 next Sunday. So in the ups and downs of Melbourne weather, it will be a cooler day tomorrow, the chance of some early drizzle and a partly cloudy top of 21, and we're now in the last week of summer, Pete.
And 36 on Wednesday. Thank you, Maddie. And Melbourne, that's what's news this Sunday. Enjoy your evening and good night.